Baker Hospital in 1942 on Colonial Lake, which is now a condominium of all things. And I think my parents at the time lived on Church Street near water, and then they moved to Queen Street for a few years, and then they bought the house on Atlantic Street in 1948, where my mother spent the next 25 years till the early 70s when she sold it and moved to Wapu Heights. The older boys would always kind of pick on the younger kids to some extent, but we put up with it and learned to adapt to it to somehow and give them a little hard time back. Well, actually, I started at the Watts School when it was at 170 Broad Street in the late 40s, and then it only went through the 3rd grade, and then I went to the Gouge School at East Bay, and then I went to public school for a few years, and then came back to the Gouge School until the 10th grade when it stopped, and then I had to go to Charleston High School for the last 2 years, which was a perfectly good learning experience. Nothing wrong with Charleston High. Was a good school back then, not as good as Gouge, but we still managed to get somewhat of an education. Hurricane Gracie hit in September of '59, almost exactly 30 years before Hugo. I was in high school at the time, as just before Palmer Gilead was first elected mayor. I remember the thing came in sort of early, and the water sort of creeped up Atlantic Street from East Battery, and as the eye passed over land to the south, the water stopped at Church and Atlantic because it was at low tide, fortunately. If it had hit at high tide, we might have had water on the first floor of our house, but fortunately we didn't. Well, a friend of mine who lived on Lambeau Street, who was a close high school chum, he came by about that time at the height and said, "Hey, let's go out and see what's going on." Well, my parents didn't think much of it, you know, they thought we had our heads screwed on. Well, we didn't. So we walked all the way straight down Atlantic Street to High Battery, wading with water up around us, and turned right, headed down towards the battery, to South Battery, but the water just hitting that seawall and it'd shoot up, and the wind would take and just throw it at you like rocks being thrown out of a BB gun, and you'd have to hold your arm up like that to protect you. And I mean, we walked all the way around Murray Boulevard. How we weren't killed or drowned, I don't